Good morning, guys. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. This is your live podcast this morning, guys. Just thought I'd jump on this morning, do a live. I've got work later. Got to go to work later. 1 o'clock start this afternoon for me on a late. Look, I've got to say, first of all, apologies for the lack of lives in recent times. That we've been really struggling, I think, really struggling to get stuff done here. What work taking over, personal life. It's just been manic the last few weeks, months. For me personally, just a whole lot going on and trying to obviously get through everything and trying to get things done and sorted. It's a tough one. But yeah, thank you this morning if you're coming on and joining us. And if you're catching the video at a later date, thank you as well. Good morning, William. Good morning, Stephen. We're running a poll this morning. Just an idea that came to me whilst I was actually putting a poll up. Look, the reason I want to run this poll is this. You know, if you look at us at this moment in time, you've got to say things are not great at Rangers at this moment in time. You know, the football we're playing is pretty turgid, pretty boring. You know, what we're seeing on the park is not good. There's a lack of faith in the manager. The signings aren't looking fantastic. And it's not looking brilliant at this moment in time for the club. At the same time, that lot across the city are falling apart a little bit as well. You know, there's protests over their signings. They said they've had an awful summer. There's votes of no confidence in their board. Their fans are kicking off. There's talk of Brendan Rodgers walking out. There's talk of him leaving at the end of the season if he doesn't walk out beforehand. And it's all kind of falling apart there as well. And Hearts are suffering. Hearts are obviously coming back with a little bit of a resurgence as well. I'm doing very well under new manager Derek McInnes, and Tony Bloom, when he invested in Hearts, did say that he'd come to break the old firm monopoly. So I just wanted to get a sort of a feeling of where we're at. You know, who wins the league this season? Is it Rangers? Do we surprise the world and suddenly Russell Martin gets it all to click and we all have to eat humble pie and apologise to the vegan lefty, or do we see a familiar procession as Celtic go to another league title, basically because we're dreadful and they're less dreadful than we are, or do Hearts shock the world and win the league? You know, I've got to say, you know what, if you look at this, try and take your blue goggles off for a minute and try and take your old firm hat off for a minute. And you look at this a bit dispassionately. I've got to say, this has got to be the best opportunity for any team that's not Rangers and not Celtic to actually win the league this season. You know, because the two old firm teams are in disarray. They really are in disarray. You know, there is, like I said, a real sense of Rangers. Everything is not great either. And, you know, and Celtic, everything is not great there. So you've got to say that maybe, just maybe, this is the best opportunity for a non-old firm team to actually, if they can put a series of results together, come through and win a league title. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just, I don't know, on the sauce. Although I've had a coffee and a tea this morning, that's all. No Buckfast, no alcohol this morning. Christian says, I'm in the work van, currently looking at the tower. Pylon in the UK, sparkling, can't be arsed. Christian, I guess most of us this morning can't be arsed on a Monday morning. No one likes a Monday morning, do they? No one likes to get up on a Monday morning and go to work. Stephen says, good morning, brilliant to wake up knowing when I leave my house, I'll be walking down the King's Highway. I'll subscribe on Friday when I get my wages. Yes, wages. Hey, wages. Get paid, mate. Good to say. Do you get paid weekly then, Stephen? Obviously, that was paid at the end of the month. Now, what are we going to talk about this morning? Look, we're going to talk about what's coming up this month. We're going to try and alleviate the boredom of international break. We're going to try and talk a little bit about you know, what's going on this month, you know, the fixtures that Rangers have got upcoming this month. We're going to look at the Europa League squad as well, obviously, with the fact that Leon King is now out of that squad, with the fact that, as I said on the video this morning, if you haven't seen, we have released a video this morning. Now, on that video this morning, I did talk about Nico Raskan and I did talk about the Leon King departure. We'll talk obviously a little bit more about Nico in this video, in this podcast this morning, but we will obviously, the majority of what I wanted to say about Nico and I wanted to say about all that lot, Dujon Sterling returning and Robbie Matondo returning, is on the video this morning, so check that video out. But, you know, it is a huge month upcoming for Rangers. You know, a massive month realistically when you look at it, because, you know, it's been a dreadful start to the season. It really has. You know, we've played 4 games, we've drawn 4 games, you know, which realistically, ideally, is not good enough for a club like Rangers. You know, it genuinely isn't good enough for a club like Rangers. And we shouldn't be in this position where we're scratching for points. We're trying to find points. We are worrying about what's upcoming after the international break. We're worrying about games. We shouldn't be in a position where, as a club, we are there. For definite. Stephen, you should never apologise for reposting, mate. As I always say, this channel is not just for me to speak crap for an hour. It's also for you to get your views across. Unlike other channels, I do value what my watchers have to say. Stephen says, sorry for reposting, but I really think a striker coming in with a point to prove like Miovski and the Canadian boy, think will turn the corner more out of need, was wanting to say. No, yeah, absolutely great, good point, mate. I think Bojan Miovski is going to make a big difference, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think the Bojan Miovski signing is an absolutely excellent one. It's an absolutely fantastic one. Don't get me wrong. I think Bojan Miovski is a guy who is tried and tested in the Premier League. He's tried and tested it at this level. He's scored goals at this level. He's fast, he's aggressive. We saw, in that Celtic game already that he had that aggression. He had that desire to get after the ball. He had that desire to make a difference. No worries, Graham. But, it is a fight, isn't it? He is going to be a fighter, and I think he will score goals. I think, if he gets the service, and that's the big worry for me, is does he get the service? And I think if he does get the service, he does score goals. He's a top player. And it's interesting, there was an article I was reading yesterday that was written, I can't remember which paper I was reading it in, and it said basically that Billy Dodds had recommended Bojan Miovski to Barry Ferguson had Barry Ferguson got the job this summer, and and some people were saying that it was Kevin Thelwell and Dan Purdy stealing the Barry Ferguson playbook and going for Bojan Miovski. If that's true or not, I don't know, but I'm glad that he's come. I think he's a fantastic footballer. I think that he's someone who will make a massive difference. I think he's someone who will score goals. I think he's someone who can really make it, really do very well for the club. I really like the lad. I think he's a top player. And I think he's a player who, like I said, will make a big difference for us going forward. And it's a great signing. It's a fantastic signing. Don't get me wrong. Bojan Miovski, I think, will be brilliant. Now, he did play the other night for North Macedonia. So, again, that's good news. He played 67 minutes. Which is just, again, about getting more minutes in his legs, isn't it? One of the things, I think one of the worries and one of the issues was, that he hasn't got enough match fitness. That's why he perhaps wasn't at his best, going forward. But in that Celtic game. But look, I think giving him another 67 minutes for North Macedonia the other night will, of course, get more match minutes, much sharpness in his legs, and he will come back to Rangers a bit sharper and a bit more ready to go for that first game back, which we'll look at shortly. After the international break finishes. So, yeah, good news. Graham says Miovski can do it if he gets the ball and is not messed about by Martin. Agreed, buddy. Christian says, think Martin wanted Miovski at Southampton, mate. He may have done, mate. But, like I said, I think it's a good signing. I think it was a bit cheeky, that article. I think it was just Billy Dodds trying to take credit for a Rangers signing. But Miovski is a massive signing. He is a very good footballer. And what's even better about the whole Miovski business is to see the Sheep having a full-scale meltdown on social media, seeing people burning their Miovski jerseys and having a proper meltdown because he's signed for us. I think it's always nice to see, isn't it, that meltdown happen from such a lovely fan base as Aberdeen. Lol, no worries, bro. When talking about Miovski, I liked his question and answer to the news outlets. It went out of my head where they were taught before or after games. Anyway, that Miovski, he's a good footballer. Yeah, watch the video if you can. The interview on Rangers TV, which is on their YouTube channel. But yeah, Miovski, I think, will be massive for us, and I think the forward line is looking a little bit better. I would like to see him experiment a little bit and sometimes play two up top. I would like us to see us have a go with two up top. I think obviously we've got Danilo, we've got Chimiti, we've got Miovski, we've got Gentles. I'd like to see him actually perhaps have a go with two up top. I mean, look, Danny, I think people criticise Danilo. And, rightly so, he hasn't had the best start to his Rangers career. He's missed a lot of time with injury. I think he gets a lot of unfair criticism on those injuries. A lot of those injuries weren't his fault. I mean, if you look at the one against St Johnstone where he gets smashed in the face and his cheekbone broken, not his fault. He's going for a ball to score a goal. He's putting his body on the line for the club. The Hearts one was the ACL injury where he gets smashed in the knee, and again, that's not his fault. So I think the injury side of things haven't wholly always been his fault. And he was available at the end of last season, but Barry Ferguson, for whatever reason, didn't like him, didn't fancy him. But, you know, Danny, I think, is a player who, he's not an out-and-out 9. I think he is a player who, you know, when we got the best out of Danilo last season, when he was playing, was when he was playing up top with Hamza. And it was almost like a kind of accident, wasn't it, that Clement stumbled on that he kind of had to play Danilo and Hamza because there was nobody else available. And Danilo drifted out wide left, he drifted into the 10 role, he drifted right, all behind Hamza. And we saw a fantastic partnership between Hamza and Danilo. So for me, I'd like to see Danilo get a chance, but not play as the 9. Play off Chimiti, off Miovski, or on the left or on the right, and drift in behind. You know, Gary says we should have kept Dessers if 8.5 million only gets us that Chimiti guy. Mate, I've got to say, Gary, look, Chimiti is look, you know my views on Chimiti. I'm not massively sold on him. I am worried about that signing. I do think it's a lot of money to pay for a player who has not scored a lot of goals. Even at Sporting's academy, he didn't score a lot of goals. You know, he does give off slight Fabio Silva vibes for me. But clearly they've seen something in him. So, you know, you've got to kind of reserve judgment, and hopefully he proves us wrong. As for keeping Dessers, no, I'm glad Dessers has gone. You know me, I don't rate Dessers in the slightest. With Dessers, it was always that the goals he scored weren't meaningful goals. They were kind of goals where we were already 2-0 up, 3-1 up, things like that. He missed more crucial chances than he scored. You can go back across his history and just see chances that he misses that cost us. I mean, the PSV game away in the Champions League where he's through on the goalkeeper and he puts it wide. If he scores that, it's a different game. The Ross County game at the end of the season when we could have won the league, he misses 2 gilt-edged chances. He puts those 2 away. We probably win that game. We probably win the league that season. The Hearts away game, the 2-1, the one at the end of the season, the one at the start of the next season, he misses, I think, 8 to 10 chances in those games. The one where, was it St Mirren away maybe, where he scores, he has 10 chances to score 1 goal. I just don't rate Dessers, and I think getting 3.5 million for him and getting rid of him at 29-30, it is great business for the club. And look, you don't win anything with Dessers up top. You won't win a league title with Dessers up top. You never will. The guy's just shit. McVeigh says, with 49ers kind of panicked, spent and showed what they can do if it hits the fan, it'll make them spend until they get it right. I love him as well, Owen. Him and his dad, they've been loyal fans. Juicy Bear Gamer says, Danilo isn't very good. He will get little game time now. He will never get close to Dessers' numbers. I think he's a different type of player to Dessers, Juicy Bear. I think he's, like I said, I don't think he's an out-and-out striker. Dessers was always an out-and-out 9. Dessers couldn't play anywhere else other than as a main 9. I think you're comparing chalk with cheese, but to be honest with you, Danilo's numbers before he came to the club were better than Dessers' numbers if you actually go and look at it. I think the Everton guy we have on the board is just hoping it works out. So he's faced the Thelwell. Thelwell Chimiti thing. I think it is a little bit of that, yeah. I would give a starting spot front. I would like to keep Danilo and Miovski with Danilo more 10 sitting behind. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, look at it that way. I'd like to see Danilo used as a 10. I really would. I'd like to see him using that 10 spot. I think Max Dessers was far too lackadaisical. Maze, I think that's a great point. Dessers, for me, you see the frustration of Dessers in that Plitzen game. If you go and watch the Plitzen game, you see the frustration of Dessers in that. You know, in that game at Ibrox, he puts himself about, he gets stuck in, he works the centre halves over. He's an absolute fucking nightmare. He is an absolute nightmare for them. And he makes their life an absolute misery. Yet, you see him in other games and he looks disinterested, he's falling on the floor, he's rolling around, he's moaning, he's whinging. To me, that's why he's never been a top class player. I think Dessers has a major character flaw. I think he does. And I think you see that in a lot of African players. They have that character flaw. That's why they never kick on to become top class players. And I think it's a weakness of African players, if I'm being honest with you. Yes, you get the odd exception, like the Mo Salahs of this world, but on the whole, name me a world class African player, you'd struggle. You know, all the world class players either come from South America or Europe. He's a different player, yes, but with new strikers he'll feature less. I agree. I watched the England game and just thought it was Russell Martin's team. Yeah, apparently it wasn't good. I didn't watch it, mate. I heard it wasn't great, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, I'd like to see Danilo using that 10, because I look at this squad at the moment and I don't see a 10. I genuinely don't see a 10 amongst our squad. You know, you've got Thelo Asgard. I don't think he's a proper 10. Lyle Cameron, I think, can play as a 10, but Russell Martin doesn't appear to trust Lyle Cameron for some unknown reason. I don't know why. I think Lyle Cameron's been one of our best players this season. But I think, you know, if you went in with something like putting Lyle Danilo into that 10 role behind Chimiti or behind Miovski, I think, not away from home. I'm not talking about going away to Hearts or away to Hibs or away to Parkhead and doing it, but at home against the lesser lights in the SPL. I mean, talking about playing Livingston, Dundee United, St Mirren at home, Hibs to some degree as well at home. Go a bit more attacking. And for me, you know, if you went in with say Connor Barron and Raskan, and in front of them you then had Danilo in the 10, and you had Finley Curtis on the right, Miovski in the 9, and Gassama on the left. That to me gives a lot more attacking options and is a lot more offensive and a lot more opportunity to break down that low block that we get against us at Ibrox. And I do think that we do need to be a little bit more offensive and a little bit less cautious at home, because teams will come and sit in. They'll make life they'll have seen our football at the start of the season. They'll think, right, we want to get a point at Ibrox or possibly even a 1-0 shock away win. We go in, we sit in, 10 men behind the ball, frustrate, the crowd will turn, the team will fall apart, and then we can either hit them on the break or we get the draw. But I think if we go a bit more offensive, we put a more attacking 10 in there behind the striker, like a Danilo, for example, I do think it will make a big difference. I do. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Dessers was good enough to start, but coming off the bench, he feels a better option than Chimiti, but it might work for us. The jury is out till we see him. I agree. I think the thing with Dessers is that you can't have a player on 27 grand a week sitting on the bench. Why do we play a black foot at home to lower league teams and defensive midfielder? And he had 2 CDMs at one of those games. You don't need a CDM if you are. Yeah, I agree. I think we are too cautious at home. I think you attack more at home, and I think if you do want to put 2 CDMs in, do that, fine, but then have a 10 who is more attacking. Thelo Asgard is more likely to drop in and defend, you know, as is Cameron. But if you put Danilo into that 10 role, you know, or someone like Bayrami, even to some degree, into that 10 role, you make it naturally more offensive. You make it more a front 4 then, an attacking front 4, rather than just an attacking front 3, which gets isolated and causes to us not being able to break down the back. You know, I think that is a possible ability there. Graham Roberts says Lyle Cameron and Finley Curtis should play every game alongside Raskin. With Raskin, Rothwell doesn't even look fit. I agree on Rothwell. Rothwell looks an absolute cart horse. As for Finley Curtis, mate, you don't have to convince me on Finley Curtis. I think Finley should start every game. I think he should start over Ant-Man every single day of the week. He really should. He's a top player, a top player. I really love Finley Curtis. I love the heart, the desire, the fight that he brings. Gary says, Joe, I played with 2 CDMs and the team had a good balance, but we have better players now, so one sitting midfielder is better with it. Yeah, I agree. 3-5-2, 3 defenders, 2 wing backs, midfield, Raskan behind midfielders, not defenders, then 2 up front with our midfield, box to box, like Cameron, Raskan, Barron, then the attackers. Yeah, good shout, mate. I like that, Stephen. I like that little combination there. Right, let's have a little look, shall we, at what's coming up this month for Rangers. This is Rangers a month ahead, guys. So this is the upcoming fixtures that we've got over the month of September. So we've got 3 league games. We've got Hearts at home, we've got Hibs at home, and we've got Livy away. So, you know, this is massive. You know, this is massive. I'll be honest with you. If Russell Martin doesn't get 9 points, oh no, Hibs is the Scottish League Cup, so we've only got 2 league games. Sorry, my fault, misread that. So there's 2 league games, right? If we don't come away with 6 points from those 2 league games over this next month, we have got a whole world of hurt. There is a lot of problems in this team, and there's a lot of problems for Russell Martin going forward. You know, Hearts at home. Look, let's not pretend that is not going to be a difficult game. It is going to be a difficult game. You know, Hearts are a good side. You know, Derek McInnes has got them playing some good football. He's got them second in the table. That, you know, they've started the season. They've played 4. They've won 3, drawn 1. They've started the season really, really well. You know, they've beat Livy it 2-1. They drew with Motherwell, which was a bit of a surprise to me, that one, and they beat Dundee United 3-2. But they do concede a lot of goals. That's the one thing you can say about this Derek McInnes team. He does seem to not defend overly well for Hearts. He seems a lot more attacking with this Hearts team. So, they'll come and I think they'll come and they'll give us a game. I don't think they're going to sit off us. I don't think they're going to be a low block team at the Ibrox. I think there's a potential for a good game of football to break out in that game on the 13th at 3 o'clock against Hearts. I really do. But for me, it's a game we've got to win. It's a game we've absolutely got to win. And if we don't win that game, if that game ends as another draw or a defeat, big questions need to continue to be asked of Russell Martin, his way of playing, his future as Rangers manager. Because, realistically, if we're going to finish with a chance of actually winning the league this season, I genuinely don't believe that's a game we can lose. We can't afford to not get 3 points. I mean, can you honestly imagine us coming away with that game with us? Let's say it ends as another draw. 5 games, 5 draws. Now, that is just not good enough. It is an absolute disaster of a start to the season. And you can call it whatever way you want. It's a disaster of a start to a season. It really genuinely is. It's a game we've got to win. It's a game we've got to win. And if we don't win it, and like I said, no other result is good enough. Only a win is good enough. If we don't win that game, massive questions need to be asked. Juicy Bear says, overall, this is a good squad, but does the coach know how to utilise it? Great. I agree. I did see a really fascinating tweet, actually, the other day, Juicy Bear, which said, this is a squad good enough to win the league with the right manager. And I think that sentence tells you the whole story, with the right manager. I think this squad, with Steven Gerrard as manager, wins the league. I think this squad with Marco Rosa as the manager wins the league. I think this squad with Kevin Muscat as the manager wins the league. I think this squad with Gio van Bronckhorst as the manager wins the league. I think this squad with Russell Martin, I don't know. You've got to see a big turnaround for me in the way they play, in the cohesiveness of the team, for us to actually win this game. Gary says, I don't think Russell Martin's the answer. And I think most Jers fans feel the same. I think you're right, Gary. At this moment in time, I don't think there's any... I think you'd struggle to find a majority... I think you'd find some, but I don't think you'd find the majority of fans would back him. I genuinely don't think the majority of Rangers fans back Russell Martin at this moment in time. I think the majority... If you put this as a referendum of who you want... If you put out as a referendum, should Russell Martin be sacked? I think it would be over 75% of Rangers fans, 80-90% of Rangers fans would actually want him sacked. I really do. That poll we're running this morning, who wins the league this season? 46% Rangers, 24% Celtic, 29% Hearts in the votes this morning. Keep voting for the moment before I close it. Blue Nose says, Martin needs to bin his style and play 4-4-2 to get the new strike. I agree, John. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see a 4-4-2. I mean, I'm a bit of a traditionalist, John. I'd love to see a Mike Bassett moment from Russell Martin. You know what I mean, don't you, by the Mike Bassett moment? The Rangers will be playing 4-4-2 and then walk out. I'd love to see. You know what? He would absolutely go up in my estimations if he came out and he said Rangers will be playing 4-4-2 and then he walked out. I'd absolutely love that. I think that would be just different class for me, and I'd absolutely just love that to bits. It would be brilliant to see that. I mean, in terms of that 4-4-2, John, I'd love to see us go in with this as a 4-4-2. I'm just going to type it and put it in the live chat now. This is my 4-4-2. Let me know what you think, guys, in the live chat. There we go. So that's my 4-4-2. Yeah, absolutely. Some of my favourite. Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember the Leeds Battle of Britain game? Perfect example. But Butland, back four. Sterling, now he's fit, has to be the right back. James Tavernier is a fucking joke. Absolute waste of space. Cancer in the dressing room. Get him out. Max Aarons is a bomb scare. Sterling at right back. Suter to right side centre back. Suter as a right side centre back looks good. Suter as a left side centre back is a bomb scare. Cornelius is a left side centre back. Play him as a left side centre back. Makoma is our only left back. Don't get me started. That's my back four. Midfield four, Curtis right wing, Raskin and Cameron in the middle, little dynamic duo in the middle, little battlers, little fighters, little getting in and about them for me. Gassama on the left, and then Miovski and Danilo up front. Danilo, I think, can then drop off him and play as a 10 to some degree, and we could even defend as a 4-5-1. But I just think that gives us, as John says, a little bit more. And I did say at the start of the pod, I'd love to see us have two up top. Go with two up top. But I don't think it'll happen. As Stephen McVeigh says, his ego won't let that happen. Yeah, you say never trust a vegan. No, I don't trust vegans. I don't trust vegans. Vegetarians, not a problem with vegetarians at all. But vegans, just not right in the head. Fucking mentalists. Up there with some other people, which I don't want to get into because I'll get cancelled. Donald Sinclair says sacked. Obviously, with reference, I think, to either me or Russell Martin. A midfield of two battlers and two wingers, please, says Blue Nose John. Yeah, I mean, Raskin and Cameron would battle, wouldn't they? Or even Barron and Cameron would battle. I mean, I was really impressed at Barron's performance in the Old Firm. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. Really, really good. But I do hope Raskin gets reintegrated to the team. But just going back to this graphic here. So obviously after the Hearts game, we've got Hibs in the Cup, the League Cup quarter-final. Again, anything could happen in that. I think if we were to get knocked out there, again, the shit hits the fan. The shit hits the fan if we get knocked out of the League Cup to Hibs in the quarter-finals. I think the shit really does hit the fan, in that. I mean, it's almost, to be honest with you, we could almost win the League Cup this year just by default on the grounds that we're rubbish. I love this joke from Mays. Martin should go, no sprout about it. Love it, love it. Stephen McVeigh says, was my first game with my granddad, Leeds, Battle of Britain. My granddad died when I was 7, my bestest memory. That's a lovely memory. Thank you for sharing that, Stephen, with us. Absolutely fantastic. But yeah, that game on the 20th against Hibs in the quarter-final is going to be a big one. It's a game we've got to win. If we don't win that game, it's got to be curtains for him. It's got to be curtains for him. Then it's obviously the first of the Europa League ties, home to Genk. That'll be a tough game. That will be a very, very tough game. It really will. Genk are a good side. They're a decent side. They're very much like Brugge. They'll make life difficult for us. But it's at Ibrox and it's Europa League. It's a Rangers Thursday night. Yada yada yada. Boring. It's a game we've got to win. Again, if we want to get anywhere in the Europa League. Now, I did see a projection the other day that had us finishing bottom of the playoff stage in the Europa League. Villa were top. I think Villa can win the Europa League this season. I really do. But I think in terms of that Europa League, I think if we've got to get through, we've got to get through. And yeah, as Gary says, surely if we lose to Hibs, Martin has to go. Mate, I don't think it'll happen. I genuinely think the guy will last till the end of the season. I genuinely do. Or it's got to get a lot worse than this, where we start losing game after game after game for him to be sacked. I think as long as we draw, win, he'll survive, even if we win nothing, I think, till the end of the season, at the very least. But yeah, Rangers Genk, that first Europa League game, it's a game we've got to win. It's a game we've got to get that 3 points in. Then we've got Livy in the league. Look, if we don't win away at Livy, and I know Livy, you can talk all you want about Livy pitch, Livy's this, Livy that. If we don't win that game, I'm sorry, the whole team need to go. If you can't beat Livingston, newly promoted Livingston, away from home, or anywhere, you don't deserve to play for Rangers. Not only do you not deserve to play for Rangers, you don't deserve to manage Rangers if you can't win that game. And then it's Sturm Graz away. Again, that'll be a tough game. But look, I'll argue this. We went worse places last season, tougher places, and got results last season. If you go back to us playing against Nice away, we win in the south of France. We get a draw in Piraeus against Olympiacos, where better teams than us have struggled. We shouldn't be going to Sturm Graz with any fear, realistically. Although I will say that Philippe Clement was a better European manager than Russell Martin. Donald Sinclair says, RM, of course, never you. I love this podcast. Guys, hit the like button. Thank you, Donald. That's a decent team of 4-4-2. I feel a dream too far. I have no confidence in Martin. We are the people, the nation you think like made and thousands more. I mean, I'm a bit busy, mate. You're going to the Hibs quarter final on the 20th. I was going to see today who wants it. Came out of my account, the money for it. Best Rangers news. Thank you very much. A lot of English boys, Martin included, don't really understand how unique a club Rangers in its win at all cost. I agree. I don't think he gets it either. I think you've only got to listen to his post-match interviews, John, to kind of understand that he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Doesn't get it. Genuinely doesn't get it. This, oh, please, we didn't get beat, getting a point, a result, all this shit that he comes out with. It's almost Clement-esque, Rangers, you've got to understand when you are Rangers a manager, and I think Robin Proper didn't get this as well last season, going away somewhere and getting a point in the Eredivisie is a good result, or in England is a good result. If you're in the Championship and you go away and you get a point, it's a decent result. If you go to away in the Premier League and you get a point, it's a decent result. However, in Scotland, for Rangers, going away to Motherwell, it's not a decent result. It's not a decent result. And that's what a lot of people don't get. A lot of people don't understand that. Donald Sinclair says, the Hateley goal at Ellen Road was a screamer. Oh, amazing goal, mate. Amazing goal. Gary says, do you think he will start Raskan against Hearts or even have him on the bench? No, I don't. Unless those clear the air talks really work and something really gets decided, I don't think we see Raskan again. Now, there was talk of Raskan going to Hibs. Of Raskan going to Wolves at the end of the transfer window, but Raskan apparently didn't want to go to Wolves, so said he'd stay and fight for his place at Rangers. Allegedly, I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard. That's what I heard. Max Giordano, new name in the live chat. Welcome, Max. Inevitable is that he goes the season unbeaten, drawing 75% of the games, and he continues saying he's unbeaten in the league, even though we'll finish third or fourth, which will somehow keep him in the job. I mean, that's got to be a worry, hasn't it? That has got to be a worry, that we end up drawing so many games that we finish third or fourth. I mean, I think the only thing I'd say about that, Max, is that if we finish third or fourth, then we've got no chance of Champions League football. And if you listen to the owners have always said that this is about getting Champions League football. Hey. It's yours if you want it, mate. Mate, the problem is, thank you, Stephen. The only issue is I work a lot of Saturdays, mate, and I am working, so I'd struggle to get up to that. But thank you very much for the offer. When new people come into the club, they must properly educated in what Rangers means that. Blue Nose, do you think a lot of that is because we don't have the personalities anymore at the club who can do that? Do you think that we don't have the players, like the Terry Butchers, like the Ali McCoys, like the Barry Fergusons, like the Gattusos, like the John Browns, like those people who can actually say to them, this is what it means to play for Rangers. This is how you play for Rangers. This is what's acceptable. This is not acceptable. Fucking sort it. Yeah, I mean, look, only Trump. Yeah, agreed. That's the problem, Juicy Bear. And I think that's what the owners won't. That's the only reason why I think that Bill's picking on what Max said, that he could be sacked if we don't win the league this season because of the fact they're so obsessed with Champions League. Gary says, agreed, Blue Nose. They should sit down with Barry Ferguson and Griegsy to get the bigger picture. I agree, yeah. And do you think a part of that is the part of the issue, that we don't have those personalities? Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think, guys. Tell me what you think. But yeah, going back to that graphic, I mean, you look at that graphic, how many games do you think we win? Out of those 6, how many do you think we win? Out of those 5, out of those 5, how many do we win? How many victories do you see in 5 games out of those things? Or how many victories is realistically possible out of those 5? I mean, my worry, because it's Russell Martin, is we miss Jimmy Bell. I agree, Blue Nose. He was a big part of it. I think we draw against Hearts. I think we somehow fluke through against Hibs. I think we draw against Genk. We beat Livy. And we lose to Graz. Because it's Russell Martin. Just because it's Russell Martin. Realistically, you should be getting, as a Rangers team in the Europa League, as a Rangers team in the league, be getting 5 victories there. That should be 5 wins. There's no reason why, with the squad that we've got, with the players that we've got, with the right manager, that couldn't be 5 wins. That shouldn't be 5 wins. Like I said to you at the start of the pod, if you gave this squad to Steven Gerrard and you gave him those 5 games, he wins those 5 games. If you give the squad and those players to Kevin Muscat, he wins those 5 games. I just, because it's Russell Martin, that's what worries me. That's what worries me, because it's Russell Martin, because I have very little faith in Russell Martin at this moment in time. And look, don't get me wrong, I'd love to eat humble pie and apologise to Russell Martin. Juicy Bear says a better Rangers team lost away to Sturm Graz. Yeah, fair enough, but like I said, this squad should be going there and winning. It should be. It really, really should be. But look, it is what it is, guys. Jimmy Bell would have let them know the script and helped them new guys. I agree. If the Americans want to make money out of us, they can't continue with Russell Martin. If they want to win the league, we're out of money. Yeah, I agree. It's got to be that. You've got to, I think, that's what they've come for. And that's why they came to Rangers. They've said that all along. They've made no secret of the fact, John, that it's about European football. It's about getting European football. It's about playing in Europe's top competition. They fully know that they're not going to get that under at Leeds. That's never going to happen for them at Leeds. Leeds are a big club, don't get me wrong, and I have massive respect for Leeds. Of course I do. But Leeds are never going to qualify for the Champions League, because in England, the top 5 places are pretty much sewn up between the same 5-6 teams every season. If you go to England, you know that Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, and then one of Newcastle or Villa are going to get the top 5 spots. Or Manchester United, if they come back, are going to get the top 5 spots. Realistically, Leeds are never going to be able to break into that because they're just not. They haven't got the finances. They're not going to have the money to do it. They're never going to be able to do it. So for me, that's why they've come to England. They've come to England because they know that their best chance. To Scotland, because they know that their best chances of getting, the money, of getting Champions League football is with Rangers. That there's no mistaking that. Of course there isn't. But look, at the end of the day, you've got to look at it and say that if we don't get Champions League football, it could actually be the end of him. It really could. Biggest personality is Raskin, as we have all heard. He doesn't like it. Shocking. He's questioning to be a better player. We need Scottish players that know what it means to be Rangers. I think having a core of Scottish players is very important, Steve. And I think our lack of Scottish players is hurting the squad. I really do. And that's why I'd like to see Lyle Cameron get more game time, Connor Barron get more game time, Finlay Curtis get more game time. If you've got a spine in your team that's Scottish, I think you do better. And if you go back to Walter Smith's time, and I think I did a video on this a few months ago, where I showed you that when Walter Smith was successful, when he made the UEFA Cup final and he progressed in Europe and he won league titles, the majority of his starting 11s were Scottish. And he had the Scottish core who got it to be Rangers. And I think that's what we're missing. Blue Nose John says that's Leeds Stadium has only... Yeah, it has at the moment. Elland Road has only got 36,000 capacity. But like I said, the thing in England is, unless you play Champions League football, unless you get massive advertising revenues, shirt deals, you've only got to look at the money that Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City have spent this summer to show how much money they have got over and above everybody else. It's quite frightening. It's RM's ego, as this is the biggest problem. Thirlwell owed Everton a favour. We brung him in to make us great again, and he's sorting our old pals out. Thirlwell out, RM out, and Patrick Stewart. Mate, as you know, I've never been a Patrick Stewart fan. Always hated Patrick Stewart. Never liked the guy. I like the actor. Don't like the chief executive. Now, the Euro squad. Obviously, Leon King is out of the Euro squad. Now, I did a bit of digging this morning, a bit of research. Now, it sounds to me... What I read this morning is that you can replace Leon King in the Europa squad. I might be wrong. It's just what I read online this morning, doing a bit of digging, that you can replace him if you sell a player. You can't just take a player out because he's shit, or if a player's injured, it's just tough luck. If you sell a player and he's no longer at the club, then I think you can replace him. You can bring someone into the squad to get him... Patrick Stewart is our biggest problem, in my honest opinion. John, I think you're spot on with that. Patrick Stewart is a massive part of what is wrong at this football club. I think he hates the fans. He backs everyone else over the fans. I think he is a big issue at this football club. And let's face it, he's hardly got the best CV in the world. He came from Manchester United, who are a club that have been so badly managed over the last 20 years, since Sir Alex left. you can see the disaster they're in. But, you look at that Euro squad and Butland, Kelly, Kieran Wright, King is alone. Yeah, he's alone, but he's no longer a Rangers player. So I think you can replace him because he's no longer at the club. I think, Juicy Bear. I know he's alone, but because he's not at the club anymore, I think you can replace him. I might be wrong. Aarons, Cornelius, Giga, Fernandez, Jaden Meghoma, Suter and Tav. I've got to say, that defensive group gives me a worry. It does, on a number of levels. One, I don't think they're particularly good defensively. I mean, I don't know about Cornelius. Yeah, I agree on that one, John. They can recall the lone Scottish players for Europa. They can, but at the end, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. It's just what I've read, Juicy Bear. Just what I've read. Aarons is bad. Giga is bad. Fernandez, I think, can be a good footballer. Meghoma, I like Meghoma. I think he's a good footballer. Suter is good at right side centre back, not so good at left side centre back, and James Tavernier is just useless. So that defensive unit does give me worries. I think if you're going to go, I think if we can replace Leon King, I would put Dujon Sterling in there because Dujon Sterling can play in defence, he can play in midfield, he gives you a lot of options, and I think he's the best right back at the club. The big worry for me is if you look at that defensive list there, Aarons, Cornelius, Giga, Fernandez, Meghoma, Suter, Tav. 7 defenders. And only out of those 7 defenders, only one of them is guaranteed to be here next season. One. That's worrying. Aarons, loan. I don't want Aarons anyway. Cornelius, loan. Giga, loan. Fernandez is ours. Meghoma, loan, not signing. Suter has 1 year left on his contract. James Tavernier has 1 year left on his contract. Please let this be his last year. Please don't give him a new deal. I think Tav will get a new deal because Russell Martin loves him, which will be a massive mistake, a huge mistake, because James Tavernier is a big part of the problem at Rangers. But yeah, that does worry me. That defence does really worry me. One, from their lack of defensibility, and secondly, from the fact we don't own that there's no longevity in that back four. For me, I would have liked us actually go out and see us sign players who will be here next season for our defence so we can build a defensive unit. And for me, the lack of a build in that defensive unit is a worry. Midfielders, Asgard, Barron, Cameron, Diamonde, Gassama, Moore, Raskan and Rothwell. I think with the exception of Rothwell, if Raskan is allowed to come back and play, that's quite a strong midfield unit. Barron, I like Cameron, I like Dio in Europe. He's not so great in domestically, but he's good in Europe. Gassama's good, Mikey Moore's good, Raskan's good. Asgard, jury's out a little bit. I think Asgard, we didn't see the best of Asgard against Celtic because he was asked to do a specific job, which was to mark McGregor, which he did very well, don't get me wrong. Forwards, Antman, Chimiti, Gentles, Mijovski and Danilo. I think, out of that list, the one that jumps out straight away at you is Mijovski. That's the big name that jumps out off that list. Of course it does. It's a strong enough lineup. It's a strong enough squad to progress, I think, to the next level. I really do. It absolutely does. Absolutely does do that. The Normality channel with Ryan Taylor. I have to say, after I checked that channel out, although the Old Firm derby in the SPL yesterday was good for the girls in blue. It was very good. Why is Ant-Man a striker? He's not at the moment. I think because he's considered a forward player, a winger, attacking player, or maybe it's just how Rangers have structured it. I don't know. May says Raskin is our best player. I agree. Raskin is our best player by an absolute street. He's our best player. You've only got to look at how he played for Belgium last night. You've got Kevin De Bruyne, who's played. I mean, this is the thing for me. Kevin De Bruyne has played with Rodri. He's played with Aguero. He's played, with John Stone. He's played with some fantastic footballers at Man City, and he comes out and says that, that Raskin is the future of Belgian football. That he's one of the best midfielders he's seen. This is Kevin De Bruyne, who knows a footballer. I mean, this is a guy who knows a footballer talking like this. I mean, I respect what Kevin De Bruyne has got to say more than I've got what Russell Martin's got to say. Russell Martin needs to sort his fucking act out, and sort his fucking act out quick. Really does. But yeah, for me, Raskan is our best player, Maze, and he's got to be brought back in. And I don't care how opinionated he is. And as I said on the video the other day, great footballers, good footballers, always have a bit of that about them. Gaza couldn't be controlled. Gaza was a player who had his own opinions on things and said things. You know, could you imagine Gaza under Russell Martin? Gaza would get dropped and get kicked out of the squad under Russell Martin because he wouldn't toe the line. I mean, and Gaza was one of the best players I've ever seen play in a Rangers shirt. He was just outstanding. Outstanding. He's one of my favourite players of all time. He's one of my heroes. I love Gaza. Absolutely love Gaza. But yeah, you know, he wouldn't get a look in under Russell Martin because he wouldn't toe the line. He really wouldn't. Guys, thank you for watching this morning. Obviously, please smash that like and obviously subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel. Thank you, obviously, for checking us out this morning. It's called passion. I agree, Maze. And I think it's to some degree, it's getting taken out of football these days. It really is getting taken out of football these days, passion, isn't it? You know, there's kind of they want yes men, they want machines, they want robots. And I don't want to see that. I want to see fight and battle and passion from my footballers. And that's when Rangers are at the best, when we've got players that are fighting, you know, the Gattusos, the Fergusons, the McCoists, the Gazzas, you know, these guys who really want to get stuck in and kick lumps out of people for our football club. You know, just me. Right, guys, that is it for this morning. I need to go and get myself sorted for work. Thank you for checking out the podcast this morning. Glasgow would have given me Glasgow kiss. Absolutely, Stephen. Thank you for watching, guys. Please obviously smash the like, subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. Thank you for your support this morning. It's been great talking to you here live on the channel. Obviously, please keep checking out the channel for the latest videos, the latest news. Keep subscribing, keep supporting the channel. Thank you for watching. I will catch you on the next one.